Yes, indeed, folks. You listen to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. Arr. Let us talk. Talking is good, so I'm told. I'm told it's what you tune in for. It's a very odd concept. I don't know why you do that. I usually talk bollocks. I don't even talk anything worthwhile. I don't say it. I don't speak. Oh well. To each their own, I suppose. Right. Let us talk about... We've got two choices. We can talk about rated battlegrounds, or we can talk about heroic raids in testing. Let's talk about heroic raids in testing, shall we? So, I'd like to ask Blizzard a question. It's generally a good idea. So, why exactly do they think it's a good idea to put the content that is going to be the vast majority of what you play at endgame into testing publicly? Yeah? And I do mean publicly. Everything is available right now. There's no times you can just go in and do whatever you want. And put it in for weeks, so that by the time that people actually get it in live, they already, one, know what to do, and two, are bored as hell. Also, may I ask, in the world of binary hard modes, which is what we're currently in right now, as opposed to the more interesting time when the only real race that mattered, which was the race for Alganon, whatever, I don't care. And, of course, Yogg plus 0, which is probably the most interesting one. Why is it that now it's okay to put all of this stuff up for testing so that the guilds that get into the beta, and we're talking about people like Paragon are in there, Insidia are in there, there are certain guilds that got in and certain aren't, they now have a fairly ridiculous advantage over those that didn't, in terms of the competitive race. So, we've narrowed down the potential field of people that could actually get a world first, and indeed, in some cases, who can get a realm first, to the guys who got into the beta versus the guys who didn't. That sucks. Before that, I already said before that I hate the fact that they are opening testing for raiding in general. Yeah, I don't like it. I keep saying this time and again, and I do mean it every time I say it, that a company with that kind of budget and a company with that kind of experience and scope should be able to properly put together raid content and not require their players, who I might add have expressed almost universally that they do not want to test it. They don't. I've had them on the show. I've had Premonition. I've interviewed Insidia like about 3 times. I've interviewed Method, Forte, Death and Taxes, all sorts of different guilds. And every time I've asked them about this, they've always said the same thing. We do not want to test raiding, but we don't have a choice. Because Blizzard has made it available. So if we don't, then the chances of us getting a world first are significantly reduced. Because some other guild will not have the same scruples. They will happily go in and test it and get the competitive advantage. Now, to a lot of people, this might not matter. And I can understand that, because most people, myself included, will never get the shot at a world or realm first. But that's not the point. I will never play in Major League Baseball. But that doesn't mean that things that affect Major League players only don't matter. They do. The whole integrity of the raiding scene matters, whether or not you're a tiny part of it or one of the most competitive raiders there is. That integrity has to continue to exist, because if it doesn't, then the competitive spirit and the fire within people that actually drives the content forward is lost. Why is that fire important? Because that competitive spirit and that fire is what drives Blizzard to create better raid content. And once that goes, once that disappears, once people stop caring, then Blizzard does not have the constant pressure to make better raid content. We saw it. I remember back in the day when the world first battles were going on. For Cthulhu, for Old Kel'Thuzad, for Kael'thas, for Vash, for Illidan, of course, for Kil'jaeden. And the last big world first battle that I remember was for Yogg plus 0, and every other piece of raid content, including the Lich King, didn't have as much. It just didn't have as much publicity and as much excitement behind it. Think about that for a second. An optional hard mode for one boss in Ulduar had more publicity, more excitement, and more competition than the Lich King. Because by that point, people didn't care anymore. You want to know why they didn't care? I'll give you a reason. Several very good reasons. People stopped caring about the competitiveness of raiding as a result of Nax 2.0, as a result of the Crusaders Colosseum, and as a result of the sorry state of Icecrown. They also stopped caring because of the token system. As in, the system whereby you are able to purchase tier 9 by running Utgard Keep. As in gear that you never deserved. People have lost that fire that came from raiding and lost the excitement and the thrill of raiding simply because raiding has been so unbelievably and perversely debased over the past 2 years. Blizzard might claim innovation, they may claim that this was the best time for raiding because of, hard modes and stuff like that. But in reality, that is not the case. Hard modes were used as an excuse. And the excuse? Quite simple. Make less raid content and make more boring raid content. Because Blizzard cries and whines and screams, but if we make the normal modes too hard and too complex, we can't do anything for heroic. Oh, boo-hoo, Blizzard! So your design isn't good enough. Okay. Make better design. You know what? I've seen you do it many times before. The only reason I make these complaints, by the way, is not because I hate Blizzard, it's because I know they can do better. You have high expectations because we're talking about Blizzard here. We're not talking about Randy Indie Game Development Company. That's some kind of porn game by the sound of it. The Randy Indie Game Development Company. Ooh-ar. Yes. They actually say that as well. Ooh-ar, and they're from the West Country. Pretty disturbing, really. You don't want to see smut from the West Country, seriously. I don't want to know about your tracts of land. Now, random indie development company that you never heard of that makes a bad game. You don't hold them to as high a standard because you know what, they've got no established reputation or any established pedigree. Blizzard has a huge established reputation, a massive pedigree that extends back over a decade. They haven't made a bad game ever. And I do mean ever. I don't count Wrath of the Lich King as a game, it's an expansion pack. Think of one bad game that Blizzard made. Let me pull up the Wikipedia right now. And I will tell you. Is there one? Is there a single one? I bet there isn't. Since, let's see. They were founded in 1991. So they've been around now for 19 years. They were known as Silicon Synapse, and they developed the following. RPM Racing, which I've actually played. Pretty good. Battle Chess. Very good. Lord of the Rings on the Amiga, which was actually a port. I don't think we count the ports, because these were games that already existed. One of their first original games was The Lost Vikings. Amazing. Rock and Roll Racing. Amazing. Shanghai 2 Mahjong, which I assume was very good for... They made a Mahjong game? Really? Okay. Yeah, Shanghai 2 Dragon's Eye. They made a Mahjong game. Blackthorn, awesome. The Death and Return of Superman, a very competent brawler. Warcraft Orcs and Humans, incredible. Lost Vikings 2, incredible. Justice League Task Force, which was a versus fighting game, actually really good. Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness, awesome. Beyond the Dark Portal, awesome. Diablo, StarCraft, Warcraft 2 Battle.net Edition, Diablo 2, Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, Diablo 3, Expansion Pack, WoW, Expansion Packs, StarCraft 2, Diablo 3. And you know what? The only bad games they've made were cancelled. That should be telling. StarCraft Ghost. Funnily enough, I ran into a blog post where someone was saying about StarCraft Ghost and said, oh, well, I criticised StarCraft Ghost. These things, I played it and it was awful. Seriously, it was. It was really bad. And Warcraft Adventures, which was also bad. Oh, man. So, yeah. After all that, folks, a perfect pedigree. Can you seriously claim that you should not have to hold Blizzard to an almost impossibly high standard? I say impossible if Blizzard hadn't managed to exceed that standard over and over and over again. That's the point. If they consistently made middling to average content, then it would be alright. But you know what? I played TBC, and I played in Ulduar. Hell, I saw the ICC 5-mans before they got nerfed. Constantly, Blizzard proves that they are more than capable of making excellent content. And then what happens? I don't know what happens. Do they cave to whining? Do they look at some invisible charts that say, oh, well, you know... I think actually it's charts. Really, they do. They look at charts. And those charts say, well, 5% of our subscribers managed to beat this, so we're going to nerf it. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. People get better when they practice. And if they don't want to practice, they shouldn't be even getting involved. It's like someone saying, I want to play in this really, really great orchestra. Well, do you practice? Are you good? No, but I have an instrument, so I should be able to play. No, they should practice, 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 and they keep practicing and get better, and eventually they will graduate into the Ice Crown Orchestra. But if they don't, they're stuck in the Nax Orchestra. And indeed, perhaps the TOC Quartet. They are bad. Now, bringing in this heroic raid content onto the PTR is just... it's so horrible. Because what that means is the only bosses that are not going to be already dead by the time Cataclysm comes out are Sinestra and whatever the hell the one at the end. Is it Sinestra at the end of Bastion of Twilight or Blackwing Descent? I can't remember which. Whatever. So, the super uber boss, yeah? I think Sinestra is at the end of Bastion of Twilight, if I remember correctly. You gotta beat Cho'Gall and Heroic for that. That's the thing. That's all that these hardcore raiding guilds have to look forward to. And you might say, oh, well, I don't care because I'm not in the beta. Yeah, well, I suppose it must be nice to be incredibly selfish. You know? I could say that I don't care because I'm not going to be doing the heroic stuff in the beta. At least I won't be doing a lot of it. I might try a few bosses, but like, oh, it's okay. It's alright. It's okay to put this open for testing because I didn't do all of it. So it's alright for me. Me, Blizzard. Oh, please. There's 12 million people playing this game. What you think doesn't frickin' matter. At all. Get this into your head. This is reality, folks. A lot of people are very, very important in their heads. Here's the thing. It's in their head, not anyone else's. I don't see why. I could have gone with the whole test the normal modes thing, even though I disapprove of that. But testing heroics is just wrong. Please, please. I mean, the major problems with a fight should surely be testable in the normal mode. And then the balance and the other abilities should be testable by a bloody focus group. They don't do it. They just don't. It's much easier for them to just throw the encounters out there and say, hey, you go test them. And the competitive raiding guild's like, oh, we really don't want to, but we're going to have to anyway, you know? We have to. Because otherwise we lose our competitive edge. Because these other guys will be doing it. I have to wonder, folks. Why exactly we should have to make a choice? And the choice is this. You have to choose between buggy content or content a bunch of people have already done and therefore is more boring. Why should you have to make that choice? Give me one good reason. There isn't one, is there? There is no good reason. If players can test it, so can Blizzard. Surely Blizzard are players as well? I mean, come on! I know software testing's difficult, but please, there are so many companies that do internal betas, and they actually do them fairly well. I remember a time when games came out and they weren't completely riddled with bugs because they weren't rushed and they didn't even have public betas. There was no testing involved there at all by the public. They just released the game and it worked. Indeed, there are actually an awful lot of games even coming out these days that actually do that. Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? You hear all these words about bad ports and buggy releases, but there's still plenty of games that come out that don't have those problems. Plenty of them. And they are not beta tested. And yeah, I know, it's cheaper to have the players do it. But you know what? Actually, in the long run, that's harmful. You want to know why it's harmful in the long run? You know what? Maybe I don't have a hold of Blizzard financials, so maybe they know more than I do. But let me just extrapolate something from basic common sense and logic. Bored players unsub. That means you lose money. So let me ask you this. Is it cheaper in the long run to lose a bunch of people because they're bored of the raid content, or indeed, is it cheaper to hire a proper bloody testing team? One has to wonder. And you know what? Even if it is cheaper, do you think that's an excuse? Because I don't. It's cheaper to do an awful lot of things. It doesn't mean you do it. Why? Because you're not some random indie development company, and you're certainly not the randy indie development company from the West Country. You are Blizzard Entertainment. You are better than that. God's sake. I remember the first time I ever held in my hand a Blizzard Entertainment game. I was 12. I think. Was I 12? I don't know. Maybe I was 12. When did Warcraft 2 come out? I'm going to have to look this up now, aren't I? Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness, 1995. Was I 12? No, actually. 1995, I was... I can't bloody remember now. Actually, maybe I was 12. Huh. 12 or 13, actually. Yeah, that's alright. That's not bad. Right. You know what? I held that in my hands, and I played that game to death. And you know what? It was the best RTS I'd ever played, and it still kind of is. And it was called Warcraft 2. Where's that Blizzard gone? My name is Total Biscuit. You're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. What can we play? There are so many great possible choices. But I'm thinking we need some good old-fashioned Lacuna Coil. What do you reckon?